A car with no door handles. Context: I was 26 and I'm a lady. I needed gas and it was around 11 p.m. on a Saturday. I pulled into a busy gas station to fill my tank, except it was completely bare, not a car in sight. I also live in Alaska and it was very cold this night, maybe -10. Tired after work, just wanting to get home. Usually I start my pump and sit in my car due to the freezing cold, but this time I had a weird feeling that I needed stand by the pump, so I did. I just started pumping my gas when a little golden sedan pulled up right next to me. A guy got out and I was feeling hyper-vigilant for some reason. He started cleaning his completely clean windows. As he put back the squeegee, he started towards me. I felt like I wanted to run but stayed calm and continued pumping. He asked me if I would help him put windshield wiper fluid in his car. BC, he ran out and he doesn't know how to open the hood. I laughed it off and told him I don't know either, which was a lie. He kept getting closer and closer to me while trying to lure me into his car by saying there's something under his seat he can't reach. BC, he is too big. Now I'm 5 feet 2 inches and petite. This man was large and scruffy, think Alaska wilderness dude. At this point I'm freaking out and hit the call button on the pump. He took a step back and started to go back to his car. I thought I was being smart. My gas is almost done. I looked in his car when I noticed the insides of the doors had no handles except for the driver door. That freaked me out. I was putting the pump back and opening my door. He was right behind me, slammed my door shut and yelled, "You're coming with me." Obviously I refused and I was petrified. He grabbed my arm and slammed me against my car. I elbowed him as hard as I could. I started to scream at the top of my lungs. Thank God for the gas attendant with a big ass gun that night. BC, if not for him, I don't know what would have happened. The attendant pulled the video and we made a police report. I called immediately after that guy took off. I never heard anything else about it. I just hope he didn't get some other girl alone. So to the guy with no door handles, let's not meet. Fake news. It's my body, my freedom, and my choice to have my family over for Christmas. We've celebrated every holiday together this year, despite people complaining to us. You're gonna get people sick. So what? I'm healthy and it's basically just the flu. All this fake news makes my blood boil. Shutting down the country? Over a virus? What do scientists know anyway? They're still insisting on climate change, and it snowed just last night. We did everything together. I drove into town to celebrate my mom's birthday. She just turned 58 a few months ago, but she doesn't feel at risk at all. We all gathered at my brother's for the 4th of July, sharing cigars and launching fireworks from our backyard. Thanksgiving I got angry. I was so sick of these restrictions, people telling me what to do, how to wear my mask, where I can and cannot go. People laughed at me when I told them my entire family was coming over for Thanksgiving. They called me stupid, uneducated, selfish, any of the buzzwords people use nowadays to make you stop thinking for yourself. They were all wrong. In fact, they spent the night in my guest rooms. I hadn't slowed rent collection for my tenants in the building I owned, so I spared no expense upgrading to a nicer home this year, full of extra rooms and private bathrooms. Christmas was easy to plan for. After all, my family was still over from Thanksgiving. I set out plates for everyone gathered around the table. They were hard to lift, but I got everyone seated comfortably. I asked if anyone would like to say grace, and they all just looked at me blankly. The ham I made was great, but nobody seemed into it. In fact, I'm wondering if I should turn the heat up. Everybody feels so cold lately. They all got a little sick before, but once they stopped coughing I knew they had recovered just fine, as I predicted. This little virus wasn't that big of a deal, it just made everyone kind of quiet. Plus, they stopped cleaning up so well, they smell a little. I picked everyone up and set them around the couch, giving Dad the big recliner he likes. My mom was slouched over, but I think she just had a little too much wine with dinner. That might be my fault, I was practically pouring it onto her. My brother and sister share the futon, each leaning on the other. They need to get outside more, they both look so pale. The news comes on, displaying that fake death toll they keep rattling about. I laugh with my family, knowing it was exaggerated. After all, my family got sick for a little, but they all pulled through. It really wasn't that bad. The media has a bias, they tend to exaggerate these things. Merry Christmas. I tell my family, and for a second I almost hear them whisper it back. Hide and don't peek. Recount of interview with Hallie Odelman, Fletcher County Hospital, 19 October 2019. I was assigned the case immediately after the paramedics picked up Hallie. Domestic abuse. The father, Gregory Odelman, had sole custody over Hallie and her 2-year-old brother Jeremiah. The mother, one Jeanette Louise Odelman, was nowhere to be found. It was a shitty case. Black as coal. Anything involving kids, man. You know how it is. Hallie had been roughed up badly, several blows to her head being among the more serious injuries. They kept her in a medically induced coma for a week to get the swelling on her brain down. Tough kid though. F***ck, sorry. I remember how small she looked. I mean, really tiny. Fragile, but precious and beautiful, like one of them Chinese vases, you know. Sorry? Yeah, we were looking for her brother. Theory was the father grabbed him when the neighbors reported the abuse. The doctors didn't want us to question her, but we had no other leads, you know. She was awake when I sat down. Big brown eyes, worried face. Hi Hallie, I'm Detective Jackson, but you can call me Terry. Hi, she muttered weakly. Is this about Daddy? Yes, I said. We need to find him, Hallie. But he's not at home. She closed her eyes and sighed deeply, tears running down her pale cheeks. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know where he is. Is he in trouble? Yes, I said. He hurt you, Hallie. That's against the law. She suddenly sat up, eyes wide open. Jeremiah, she said. Is Jeremiah safe? We hope so, Hallie, I said reassuringly. That's why we need to find your father. She slumped back into bed with a sigh of relief. He didn't find him. What do you mean? I asked. When Daddy comes home late, I always play a game of hide and don't peek with Jeremiah, to keep him safe. Hide and seek? No, hide and don't peek. It's our game. We hide, and we're not allowed to peek until Daddy is asleep. So what happened that night? Daddy found me, she closed her eyes. And he was mad. I clenched my fists. And then he hurt you? Yes, she said, shifting restlessly in the bed. And then I can't remember what happened next. You've been in the hospital for almost a week, Hallie. He hurt you pretty bad, and then he ran away with your little brother. She smiled at me. I remember that distinctively. The image of that poor, broken little girl, with that beautiful smile on her bruised face. Daddy didn't find him, she beamed. I hid him well this time. No way he could have found him. I felt, I don't know, relief? A sense of hope, I guess. Maybe, just this one time, it didn't have to end in F***cat up despair, you know? Where, Hallie? I leaned close. Where'd you hide him? She grinned widely. I hid him in the freezer. I can remember my brother, but why did my parents always deny that I had one? I'm finally holding in my hand a photograph which, after years of searching, offers proof, perhaps the only existing proof, that I had a brother. My memories of him are vague, but I have too many memories for me to be mistaken. I was a very sickly child, and for the first few years of my life I was rarely allowed to play outside, so I didn't mix with other kids. It was just me and my brother. We even shared a bedroom. And my brother was even sicklier than me. So thin and pale that in my memories and dreams, for I dream about him often, his skin was practically the color white. I'm pretty sure that he needed regular blood transfusions from me. This is one of my clearest memories of our all too brief time together. He needed these to stay alive. He called me blood brother. But weirdly enough, my parents have always insisted that I was an only child. It's strange that I can't remember his name, too. But he was always around, until I was maybe the age of 5. I became convinced this wasn't some imaginary friend scenario. I'm sure I recall him coming along on family outings to theme parks and carnivals, though he had to be careful as he burned very easily in the sun. But then, very suddenly, he was no longer around. I guess it makes sense to protect a young kid from certain harsh realities, but why didn't my parents ever sit me down when I was older, and reveal what really happened? I assumed he must have passed away. My mom died last year. I feel bad about this now, but even on her deathbed, I implored her, one final time, to tell me about my brother. But one final time, she denied I'd ever had one. And one final time, I could tell she was afraid. My dad lost his marbles a few years back, so with my mom's death, I knew that nobody could solve this mystery but me. I ransacked my mom's house looking for photos of those family outings. She'd always hidden some photos from me. You'd get 24 photos from a roll of film, but in every album, there were only 22 or 23. And even some of those were crudely cropped by scissors, no doubt wielded by my folks. But they'd made a mistake. On a single cropped photo, the one I'm holding now, the one I've been staring at, transfixed, for hours, they snipped away my brother, but left his arm, across my shoulder. It's one of the few photos of myself where I'm not wearing my silver crucifix around my neck. My parents always made me swear to never, ever, take it off, but sometimes young kids just forget. I look very pale in the photograph, but my brother's arm is even paler. In fact, it looks like bone. His thin fingers are embedded into my flesh like 5 hypodermic needles. My son knows things he shouldn't. This is my first time posting here, so hang with me. I have 4 sons, my oldest is 6 and he's the one I'm curious about. Since he was very young, first learning to talk, he's occasionally said things that don't make any sense for him to know. We were on vacation with my in-laws at the beach when he was 2.5 and he had a blast in the water with my husband and I. The next day, we got up bright and early to go back and he adamantly refused. He kept insisting that there were alligators in the water. We tried to reason with him that alligators did live in salt water, but he wasn't having it. Well, my husband had taken one of our twins, almost a year old, into the water and they were playing. A few moments later, a man comes running from the pier yelling at him to get out of the water and for us to get away from the water. He explained that while watching the water from the pier, he saw an alligator just underneath the water, stalking my husband from a distance. He called 911 and animal control arrived and were eventually able to locate and capture the alligator. It was 8 feet long. There had been storms during the night and it was mating season. The explanation was that he was looking for a mate and had come in through a freshwater river that runs into the sea. But how could my son have known about that hours before it happened? Another time, I was going outside to do yard work and he told me not to go near the bushy tree, fig tree, because there was a rattlesnake under it. I thought it was just childhood imagination. I'm doing the yard work and I go over to that tree to see if any figs are ripe and I heard the rattle. I looked down and I was about 3 feet away from a rattlesnake and it wasn't happy to see me. I quickly got away as not to disturb it further and hope it would go on its way. He shouldn't have known it was there. Another time, we were going to go visit my mom and he was asleep. We hadn't told him where we were going because she had a surprise for him. We got in the car and he said, "You can't go this way to Grandma's because the bridge is out." We always went that way if my husband was driving and the bridge had been fully operational the day before. Sure enough, we get to the bridge and it's tapped off with a detour sign. There's no way he should have known because word hadn't gotten out yet, especially since my cousin is the local supervisor and he didn't tell anyone about it until after I called him. I honestly find this all a little creepy because I can't logically explain it. My wife confessed to the worst thing she ever did. Does going ahead with my shitty tall man prank make me an even shittier husband? Maybe. But see, Emma was always gullible. Stupidly so. It was one of the things I loved most about her, honestly. We met while working part-time at a local cinema, and there we were, sweeping up leftover popcorn, when she said, "What's this?" In her right hand, there was a tool belt. The projector had probably malfunctioned and some repairman forgot his equipment. As a joke, I said, "Didn't you know a construction worker died when they were building this place?" From that moment on, she wouldn't set foot inside Screen 6. Didn't want to risk bumping into a ghost, you see. I thought it was cute, and just a few weeks later my girlfriend ghosted me, so I asked Emma if she'd like to grab a coffee sometime. Rather than directly tell her about the urban legend, I left some reading material scattered around, and when she suggested a different location for the camping trip, all while doing a terrible job of masking her anxiety, I knew it was game on. In between a scattering of skeletal trees, I set up our tent. Oh sure, Emma begged me to find a better, aka less scary, spot, but at the same time, the soles of her feet were raw slabs of beef from the 20-mile hike, so she eventually relented. After we tucked into a pot of beef stew, we turned in for the night. Knowing the first sudden noise would spook her, I waited. Out of nowhere, she sat bolt upright in her sleeping bag. What the F***ck was that? We listened as wind howled through the trees. I pretended a dry cramp seized my throat. It's the tall man star dot. She threw her arms around me, her eyes pooling with tears. Make it stop. Please. In a high, frightened voice, I said, the legends say the only way is to confess our sins. What bad things have we done? Unable to speak, she just lay there, trembling. Secretly rolling my eyes but outwardly maintaining the act, I said, I'll go first. The last house I rented, I salted the garden because the landlord wouldn't return my deposit. And last month I accidentally stole a Mars bar and didn't go back to pay for it. She took several deep, shuddery breaths. Led your college girlfriend. The one you were dating when we first met. I slit her throat and filled her backpack with rocks and dumped her body in the Blackstaff River. While I lay there, shocked, tree branches scraped together roughly. Emma squealed and quickly added, led that in turn at your work too. The flirty one. I cut her up and dumped the pieces in a landfill. Outside, the wind eased, and the forest went back to sleep. After 10 seconds of dead silence, Emma let out a sigh of relief, and then pulled me in close. She had enough notes. Shopping lists for January. Week of January 2nd. Eggs. Milk. Bread. Beer. Concealer. Foundation. Sunglasses. Needle plus thread. Ace bandages. Week of January 9th. Milk. Bananas. Beer. Long sleeve shirt. Band-aids. Ice pack. Lamp for the living room. Week of January 16th. Milk. Eggs. Bread. Beer. Concealer. Wall mirror. Wrist brace. Week of January 23rd. Milk. Bananas. Beer. Gloves. Saw. Bleach. Tarp. Trash bags. Shovel. He couldn't believe his luck. I told him you dumped me and I wasn't looking for another relationship. After all, you left more than a crack in my heart, Julian. You really did. I sucked his CK in an alley outside the bar. He bent me forward and K'd me from behind. He was surprised but pleased I liked it up the ass. How many girls do, really? Later I found another one, then another and another and another. Post-Julian me was in bars and clubs, dolled up in my CK me boots and red dress, the one you said makes me look like UT. I think I like being UT. I picked up guys, they thought they did the picking, not really, boys, and I had a dozen dating profiles. Sometimes I K'd 3 or more men in one night. I know, hot girls like me don't normally act like this. I know. Some thought I was a hooker, but I'm not after money. When I was with you, I never knew who I was. I knew only the self that was reflected in your eyes. The self that you wanted me to be, Julian, the one you desired. I am that self. I dress up, flirt, suck CK and take it up the ass. Always up the ass. Just the way you liked it, Julian. Remember? When I grew bored with hookups, I added new excitements. I became the unicorn to buy male couples, ironic, right? And I was what all men want, the hot single chick in the swinger club, absolutely DTF. I went with Paul. He said he was into group S**X blah blah, but when I F***ed my way through whole clusters of men, I mean dozens, he got all prissy. He said I was troubled. That I was sick. He was right, just not in the way he thought. Oh Julian, you said you loved me, but when you got the diagnosis, you didn't even tell me. You just left without saying goodbye. I only found out when I got sick myself. And hey, I'm a student, I could barely afford the test. The meds I need for the rest of my life? No way. I used to say I was lucky to be with you. Well, that's what those guys say to me now. Vile pigs cheating on their girlfriends probably, infecting them. I hate them, I F***king hate them. Especially when they tell me how lucky they feel. Lucky I take it up the ass. Lucky I don't use condoms. When I see the filthy lust bubbling in their eyes I think of you, Julian. When they stare at me their eyes are yours, I want to laugh at them, ha, until the world breaks to pieces. They won't know until their next medical appointment, but they'll have to remember me forever, Julian, just as I will remember you in the time I have left. F***CKU. The neighbor I laid poolside perfecting my tan for the start of school next month. Mom was in the kitchen cooking her famous fettuccine alfredo and Dad was on the way home with a movie from Redbox. My life was perfect, but everything was about to change with the arrival of a new neighbor next door. He was a former police officer, probably mid-50s, possessed a firm drill sergeant-like tone, but was very friendly and talkative. Initially, he seemed like a good fit for the neighborhood. He was cordial, always made an effort to wave or say hi, and the presence of someone with a law enforcement background provided a sense of security. But things began to unravel quickly and the catalyst seemed to be me. My neighbor took a sudden and keen interest in me. Whenever I went outside I could feel his eyes examining me. He would always wander over and try to start conversations with me, but as soon as he heard or saw my parents he would leave. He asked me if I had any social media accounts. When I lied and said no, he asked if he could take a picture of me and proceeded to snap a pic before I could reply. I felt completely unnerved and frightened about his intentions for me. For all I knew, we could have a murderer or pedophile living a mere feet from our home. I knew I needed to delve deeper, so one night I aimed my telescope at his window and what I saw only amplified the alarm bells going off in my head. This man was fixated on the picture of me on his phone, and I could even see a small stack of photos on his nightstand, a young girl's image on top. My blood ran cold as this all but confirmed my fear. He must be a pedophile. The next night I saw him sneakily rummaging through our trash can. I watched in horror and disbelief as he removed my used tampon, got into his car and sped off in the night. This was the final straw. I knew that in the morning I would have to alert my parents and get in contact with police. I awoke to the sound of police sirens and a loud commotion downstairs. I hopped out of bed and saw my parents being taken away in handcuffs. I started screaming and crying as I rushed towards the door, but I was stopped by the neighbor. With a horrified expression he muttered, "I'm so sorry. Those aren't your real parents. You were kidnapped and missing for the past 14 years. DNA test confirmed it. My mother told me at a very young age that I was a sinner. That we were all sinners. Kindred of the anathema. For us there was no redemption, we were cursed with the putrid blood of 1,000 generations. The only way to relieve this torment of the soul was the wound. The wound has always been there. I've seen pictures of myself when I was a baby, and it was present already then, a gaping, pus-filled gash right above my abdomen. It's our way of repentance, my mother would say. We bleed out the bad, and thus we cleanse our spirit. My mother had her wound on her thigh. My sister on her lower back. Oozing things they were, all yellow-blue and infected, painful and unsightly. And when the wound healed, when the itching came, and the scab slowly started covering it, my mother would be there with her knife and cut it open once more. A violent slice into soft flesh, the point of the blade digging into tissue, until the wound was deep enough to purify the soul once more. If we don't do this, she told me, the sin will take hold, and it will devour you. My mother is dead now. Heart attack, sudden and swift. She died before her wound closed, and as such she left this world without sin. That's what she believed anyway. My sister didn't. She hated the wound. said it was child abuse. Religious nonsense. A way for our mother to control us. F***ck it, she said after the funeral. F***ck everything about it. My wound is almost gone, and I don't feel any different. We were cleaning up Mom's room, my sister throwing her old dresses and shoes out the window, tears streaming down her face. I could see how much pain she was in, and I wish I'd said something. Tried to convince her somehow. We don't need it, Jonah, she said, her pale blue eyes staring into mine. We are free now. She exposed her back to show me the wound, and I gasped loudly as I made sense of the sight. What is it? What's wrong? Your W wound, I stammered incoherently. It's *under* your skin. Something under her skin, something squirming, flesh and pus and boils pulsating, contracting, stretching, *expanding star. Jonah, she muttered. Her body warped and twisted out of shape, bones cracking, eyes bursting, teeth dropping to the floor, blood spraying in impossible angles as she turned inside out. And the screams. And the sounds. My God, the sounds. I stumbled back in fear and disgust, moments later realizing too late that I had backed into the open window. I don't remember much from the fall, nor my neck hitting the ground first. All I remember is darkness and screams. Where is my sister? What is my sister? I truly don't know. All I know is that I'm laying here in my hospital bed. Unable to move. Unable to communicate. And that my wound is itching something fierce.